Welcome to our online video journalism course, and I am Muhammad Aminuzzaman. I am your course instructor, and I will guide through the whole over the course. This course will provide you the fundamental knowledge of video journalism and video techniques. You will learn through this course videography, sound techniques and lighting techniques, and you will be guided through online environment to learn storytelling with the language of audiovisual. Through this course, you will see 6 videos, and with these videos you will learn this topic. After every video, you will get one assignment, and if you do your assignment, you will get the feedback from us if you join our course online. Before that, you can watch our videos, and you can learn by yourself. And now I am going to discuss about the course outline. In class 1, we will discuss the introduction about the course and camera techniques, camera operation, and it might be a video camera, DSLR camera or mobile camera. You can use your own device for the videography, and if you really want to think that you are going to produce one story, audiovisual story, and you can use your device as much you can. So if you have a video camera, we will discuss about the techniques of the video camera and the technical aspect, and as well as the DSLR camera and mobile camera. In the video 1, you will get the information about the camera operation, exposure and white balance. With that, you will get assignment you will do after that. In the second video, we will going to discuss digital concept, different type of shots, real video and practical, and with that you will get also a assignment. Third video, we are going to discuss sound and interview technique. Fourth video, it is all related with the lights, 3-point lighting in the studio and daylight. Fifth video, one video journalist will discuss his or her experience from the real life. Sixth, not the last one, we will going to discuss the wrap up of the course, the feedback session, and we will discuss the whole that what is the video journalism and how a person work as a video journalist. Now I am going to present videography techniques and all. And before that, you have to know the camera function and camera techniques. I have one camera for the videography. It's called the video camera, and most of the video journalists use these types of camera in their real life. But right now, you have a DSLR camera, and you can also do the videography. And all the important things, most of the people are doing videography with this camera, mobile. So every camera have the option right now to take videos. This is a professional video camera, Panasonic P2. So with this video camera, it is important to know the exposure things and how you can control the exposure in this camera. You can use auto exposure, and auto exposure will not give you the optimum level of correction most of the time. Sometimes if you working in the wrong light situation like backlight, your subject is standing in front of the sun, then you can't get the right exposure of your subject. During this period, the shooting, you can adjust the shutter speed and aperture to correct this exposure. So what is exposure? Exposure is controlled by 3 elements: shutter speed, aperture and ISO. In video camera, you can't find any ISO. It says that gain means ISO, and aperture, aperture is a different word in here, and they use the aperture is iris, like our eye have a iris. In DSLR camera, you will have all three elements: ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. Now I am going to discuss one by one each elements. What is aperture, what is ISO, and what is shutter speed. Shutter speed is control two things. One is exposure, and another one is speedy of the subject. It means you can stop the subject or you can blur the subject. Like you are shooting a car, which is the speed is 60 km/h. Then your shutter speed have to have more than 60. 60 means 1/3 of a 60 second. Otherwise, you will get the blurry image. And as you know, the videography is a combination of all small image. It means you will get the photographs in a 1 second, it's 25 or 30, that will provide you the video. And if every image become blur due to the shutter speed, then the whole video will be blur. It means you can find the hazy videography. So for that you have to put the shutter speed in optimum level. Though there is a light situation, sometimes we work in a low light situation, and that time we don't have any option to reduce the shutter speed. The shutter speed defined is like a 1 second, half second, 1/4 of a second, 1/8 of a second, and so on. But for the videography, we normally use the 50th of a second. It means the 50 times of a 1 second. But if you need higher than that, you can use it, and you can use it in a video camera, DSLR camera, and as well as mobile camera. So shutter speed is a very first element to control the exposure and the speed of the subject. Second one is aperture. Aperture as like as our eye have a aperture, and it called is the iris. So if you go to the cinema theater, middle of the any movie, then you can't see anything inside the cinema hall. Why? Because your iris was not open enough to see the whole under dark situation. But after some time, like 1 minute or 2 minutes, you will see the most of the area you can see, because your iris become open. As like as our eye, camera also have the aperture, and aperture do the two things. One is control the light and depth of field. Light, if you put the shutter the aperture number is a smaller number, you will get more light but less depth of field. And if you put the higher number of the aperture, you will get less light but you will get more depth of field. What is the aperture number? Aperture number start from normally 2.8, 4, 5.6, 8, 11, 16 and 22, and some camera has more than that. Initially you can choose 5.6 for the general shooting, because it gives you optimum level of depth of field, and in daylight situation light would not be a problem for that. But if you need a deeper depth of field, you will choose the 8 or 11 shutter aperture. But if you really want to make your background shallow, the out of focus, then you have to choose the 2.8 or 4 aperture. And the last one is ISO. ISO is the light sensitivity, and in video camera its name is gain, and DSLR camera it is ISO, and mobile camera also they use the ISO. And ISO 100 ISO is a starting number, and 200, 400, 800 and 1600. The important information for the videography If you increase ISO, you will add grain. Grain means noise. In the dark situation, we normally use higher ISO, and we get image with the grain. If you don't need these things, it means you can't accept this grain, then you have to increase the light situation, either artificial light or any type of light which will increase your exposure. With the ISO, it's also important elements to control the exposure. So if you know the three elements, the shutter speed, aperture and ISO, you will have to know the things, how you can manage this all. So the next point is which we will decide first. I like to say you that the first selection would be ISO. Decided what ISO is needed. It might be 200 or 400. Then select the aperture and shutter speed. Shutter speed for the video normally 50th of a second, and then decide the aperture. Yes, you can also choose the auto exposure, and as I said in the initial time of the video, that auto exposure will not give you the perfect exposure most of the time. Use manual exposure for the video, or if you really in a hurry situation, you can use auto exposure, but just to know the underexpose or overexpose method, and for that you need this learning. Every camera from the DSLR camera, video camera, mobile camera have this option, and you can control your exposure. Like in mobile camera, you have an option like camera, and when you click like this, you can increase or decrease your exposure value when you are shooting video. And the DSLR camera, you can use the video option, and video option will help you to take the videos. Here the control of the shutter speed, aperture, and when you change these things, you can understand this the scene is the perfect exposure or overexpose or underexpose. In the example, you can see underexpose image, overexpose and correct expose. With this example, you will find that why you need to know about the exposure method. Auto exposure sometimes will give you very correct exposure, but not always. In the difficult light situation, it is important to know how to manage this situation and give the perfect exposure of your subject. And for that, see the example clearly. It's a video example, and you can understand that correct exposure is important for your videography and video journalism. When you are using mobile phone, it is also important to control how to control the mobile phone exposure. Here you will not find any aperture, only ISO and shutter speed for the video. But there is another option in a videography. It's you have a finger. There is one star sign like a sun, and if you increase these things, it will give you the overexposed image. If you decrease this point, then it will give you underexposed image. So when you are seeing and shooting any subject, then you can understand this is an overexposed image. So you just put it underexposed with that, and if you find this is a very dark image, then you can increase the exposure upon it. In the DSLR camera, we have the same option. If you use auto exposure or auto mode, you can't control your exposure. It is impossible. Sometimes you can use the semi-auto mode like aperture priority or shutter priority for videography. That time you will have a option, but limited option, like exposure compensation plus or minus. And in manual mode, you will have a full option to control your exposure. First you set your ISO, then set your shutter speed, because you are doing videography with the digital DSLR camera, and then choose your aperture. If you have a lens aperture is 2.8, it's very good, but if it is a start from the 4 or 5.6, it's okay, but you need more light for the videography. Now, the another point is white balance. White balance is the terms we use for color correction during the video shooting. In terms of the white balance, white means white, but in any light situation, if you make your white color become white, that calls white balance. So, you can use the white paper in front of your camera, and you can see that this paper is the color of the paper is white or not. If you find it's not white, it might be a bluish or reddish or yellowish. You have to know that how you can change it. So, in camera, DSLR camera, you have a different type of white balance, like auto white balance, daylight white balance, tungsten, fluorescent, and Kelvin white balance, and with that shadow and cloudy white balance. Similar white balance setup you will get in the mobile phone also, but in video camera there is a different method they are using for the white balance. It's the A and B and manual white balance. So, if you learn it, you will find a one button here, the white balance, and here there is another button. So, when you choose A or B, then you will set it the indoor white balance or outdoor white balance, or you can choose in the manual white balance with that the white paper. So, white balance, if you not select the white balance, then what happen in the videography during the shooting? You may get in the cloudy day is a very bluish video, or in the warm time, it means during the sunset, if you choose the auto white balance, you will not get the warm tone in your video. So, it is better to use the manual white balance and set any white balance for desired light. In this point, I will discuss one example for you, like when you shooting the sunrise and sunset, you will get two type of tones. In sunrise, it's bluish tone, and in sunset is warm tone. But if you choose the auto white balance, most of the time you will get the same result. You can't find the which is sunrise and which is sunset. Now, I am going to discuss about the lens. Lens is very important for the video journalism, because sometimes we do some work which is very dangerous. You can go near to the subject. You can shoot the far from your subject. That time you need different type of lens for your videography. In the video camera, there is a auto zoom lens in this video camera. So, you can control it over there. That you will get some closer shot or longer shot. In DSLR camera, you have a option for the zoom lens, prime lens, and different type of lens. So, in zoom lens, in this camera is zoom lens start from the 24 to 70, and the meaning of this number is millimeter. So, 24 is wide angle lens and 70 is telephoto lens. So, the discussion is starting from the 50 millimeter lens. 50 millimeter lens, we normally think this is a standard lens, because the human eye can see around 50 millimeter type of lens. It means the lens defined as a degree of the viewing. So, normally human being can see 46 degree to around 46 degree, and the 50 millimeter lens also can see around 46 or 47 degree of angle of view. So that's why 50 millimeter lens we normally think this is a standard lens. If it is more than that, if the lens can see more than 46 degree, that we call it a wide angle lens. Normally human being can't see the more than that. And the another one is, if you narrow down your image like 90 degree or more than that, or more than 46 degree, that's called the telephoto lens. Also normal human being can't see in that way. So it is a techniques to control the situation, and if you can't go near to your subject, then you can use the telephoto lens. And if you are very near to your subject, but you need the whole space for your videography, then you can use the wide angle lens, because wide angle lens will give you the more space during the videography. So if you know which lens is suitable for your videography, then you can choose the optimum focal length for that. And there is one limitation with this lens things, because mobile camera use very wide angle lens, and that's why you can't shoot portrait with this camera. So if you use the mobile camera for your videography, you have to have some knowledge about the lens and the sensor size. So lens is a wide angle lens, so you can zoom it or zoom out. If you go closer to your subject might be distorted. So basically, when I use my mobile camera for videography, I normally maintain a distance like 5 feet to 7 feet distance. I never try to take a close-up shot with my mobile phone. There is a limitation of mobile phone. But if you use the DSLR camera, you can choose any lens, and you can do whatever you like, and the video camera also. Because most of the people now are using the mobile camera. So if you know the limitation of the mobile camera for shooting, you can use it in a perfect way and professional way. The another limitation of the mobile camera is lens and lens hood, because it's using wide angle lens, so the light come from the left, right, and different angle will get inside the it creates a flare. If the sun is behind your in front of your camera, and subject is standing in front of the camera, so that time you will face the problem with the flare. To reduce these things, you can tilt down little bit, tilt down your mobile phone, and you will get the appropriate light. Another limitation of the mobile phone is low light shooting. Why? Because it's used a small sensor and wide angle lens. So if you go to the shooting for night, you think about your lighting and your device. And if you increase the ISO of the mobile phone, it will give you more grain due to these two elements, the sensor size and lens. There is another thing you need to think about before the shooting, that you have to have this mobile phone steady. Steady means if you shoot from holding your hand, it might be shaky, little shake. You can't understand, but when you do the editing, it will give you a very difficult situation. So better to use these types of tripod. It's a very handy and useful tripod. You put this mobile phone to your tripod, like here. I can show you how to do these things. Yes. So there's a tripod. You can hold it on your hand. It will be give you a steady situation, and you can use it as a tripod on the table. And most of the important thing is with this holder, like I can show you, with this holder you can use a big tripod as professional shooting. It gives you the steady shot for the interview and the filler footage when you are traveling or taking other shots, different type of shots. So this small tripod holder will give you the almost professional video for your project or for your story. Till now, I am try to discuss about the use of the camera, different type of camera, and the exposure and white balance. And you are going to do one assignment on this. Shoot something which is which gives you the correct exposure and twist of underexposure one video and twist of overexposure one video, and see the differences, the detail of the subject and the other things. And after that you can shoot one sequence or a different type of videos in different light situation, like morning, noon and evening, with the same white balance. You will find the difference, as well as use the auto white balance with the same type of videography. Then you can realize that the importance of the white balance and the control of exposure. Thank you all.